Penguin Random House Audio presents God is Dead by Ron Currie. Read for you by Junior Nyong'o, Karissa Vacker, Nick Trengove, Blair Young, Vas Eli, Ron Currie, Vikas Adam, and Lee Osorio.
For my father, Ron Currie Sr.
God is dead. Slaves, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. Disguised as a young Dinka woman, God came at dusk to a refugee camp in the North Darfur region of Sudan. He wore a flimsy green cotton dress, battered leather sandals, hoop earrings, and a length of black and white beads around his neck. Over his shoulder, he carried a cloth sack which held a second dress, a bag of sorghum, and a plastic cup. He'd manifested a wound in the meat of his right calf, a jagged, festering gash upon which fed wriggling clumps of maggots. The purpose of the wound was twofold. First, it enabled him to blend in with the residents of the camp, many of whom bore injuries from the slashing machetes of Janjaweed raiding parties. Second, the intense burning ache helped to mitigate the guilt he felt at the lot of the refugees, over which he was, due to an implacable polytheistic bureaucracy, completely powerless. Or nearly so. God did have the bag of sorghum, and the bag of sorghum was infinite, so that he was able to offer the sweet grain to others endlessly. For weeks he'd done this, following the path of the Lull River through scorched plains, giving away sorghum and asking if anyone knew a boy named Thomas Mawin. Most said no. Some, grateful for the food and eager to offer something in return, lied about knowing the boy, claimed to have seen him as recently as the day before, headed north, away from the fighting, or else southeast, and when God followed their directions, he became hopelessly lost without the river to guide him. He wandered in wide circles, often coming upon the same boulder or stand of trees days after he'd first seen it. Denying himself the sorghum, he ate leaves, abuk roots, and on one occasion what was left of an ostrich carcass after it had been picked over by both people and hyenas. He suffered under the sun he'd created. Sick with heat and cholera, he collapsed in a field of spindly yellow grass. His dress rode up immodestly, but he was paralyzed by dehydration, unable to even cover himself, and when two wild dogs came and began walking wide, hungry circles around him, he could not move to drive them away. Deliverance came in the form of the Janjaweed. The dogs heard their approach and bolted, but God, still paralyzed, could only lie in the grass and listen as the mass of horses and Land Rovers rumbled closer like some great and terrible machine, driving every living thing before it, shaking the earth as it passed. The Janjaweed saved him from the dogs, and his paralysis saved him from the Janjaweed. Had he been able to rise and run, they would have captured him easily, and seeing in him not the creator of this universe, but rather a slender Dinka woman with a long, elegant neck and almond-shaped eyes, they would have raped him over and over until he died from the trauma. But God remained hidden as the Janjaweed sped past all around him. Birds took to the sky, rodents scrambled for the safety of their burrows. Even the mosquitoes and cicadas fled. Bursts of semi-automatic fire sounded over the riot of diesel engines and galloping horses. A hoof, cracked and badly shoed, struck the ground inches from God's head. Still, he could not move, did not make a sound. And then, as quickly as they'd come, the Janjaweed were gone, leaving in their wake a silence so absolute, even God had a difficult time believing it was real. He rested. When he came to, it was light, and he found he could move again, if slowly and with great effort. He rose and followed the path of the Janjaweed, the trampled grass and burned huts and dead things of every description which led due north, and when he again reached the bank of the lull, he threw himself into the shallow water and drank greedily and tasted dirt and shit and did not care. Early that afternoon, God entered the refugee camp along a rutted dirt path and approached the only people in sight, an elderly couple sitting together in the dust beneath a tamarind tree. Behind them, the empty camp spread out in clusters of fragile huts made from thatch and torn plastic tarps. "Kudwal," God said to the old couple in greeting. "Are you hungry? You look hungry." The man sat hunched over and asleep, his bare legs folded beneath him like two bent sticks. The woman raised her eyes slowly and nodded yes. God offered the endless sorghum to her. With a hand as black and shriveled as a strip of jerked meat, she reached in and removed a small amount, then held it to her chest with both hands, nodding modestly and muttering words of thanks. "Take more," God said. "Please, there's plenty." Without hesitating, the old woman did so. She placed the sorghum on the ground beside her, grasped and kissed God's hand, at which he, embarrassed and heartsick at the limits of his ability to help these people, demurred. Then woke her husband with a rude jab of one bony elbow. "Go find wood and water for boiling," she said. "We have food." With the deliberateness of someone who has learned never to feel too blessed, no matter how good the news, the man unfolded himself and stood up. God watched him recede into the empty camp. "That man once owned 500 head of cattle," the woman said. "Now look at him." "Old woman, may I ask," God said, "do you know a boy named Thomas Mawin, 15 years old, but quite tall? He was taken as a slave by the Janjaweed many years ago, but he has escaped." "I don't know him," the woman replied. "But that doesn't mean he's not here." "It doesn't look like anyone's here," God said. "Did the Janjaweed attack?" The woman laughed, revealing red, toothless gums. "No, not today," she said. "Today, with the big man here, we'll be safe." "Which man is this?" "The Ajak, big man, fat and pale like a mango. He comes to see us from America. Wherever that is. Walks around, smiles, shakes hands." From America. God knew then who this Ajak was, and how he might be able to use him to find Thomas. The woman continued. "Tomorrow, he goes home." She made a motion with her hand like a plane lifting into the air. "And the Janjaweed come back." "Where is he now?" God asked. "On the west side of the camp," the woman said. "That's why you don't see anyone. They're all following him around out there, singing and dancing like fools." Colin Powell hid from an angry sun in the air-conditioned interior of his Chevrolet Suburban. Head down, he spoke quietly into a satellite telephone. A senior State Department official sat on the leather bench seat opposite him, holding Powell's linen Ralph Lauren jacket across his lap. Outside, the Secret Service attachment had formed a tight perimeter around the Suburban. To a man, they wore black boots, khaki pants and vests, mirrored sunglasses, and thigh holsters with Sig Sauer P229 pistols. Each brandished a Heckler & Koch MP5 submachine gun. The agents scanned the singing, ululating crowd of Dinka refugees, exchanged information and the occasional one-liner via tiny earpieces, and maintained a robotic, perspiration-free command presence despite the 95-degree heat.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?